Presence is a ghost movie told entirely from the POV of the spectre itself. This means the audience floats around the house, spying on the family's most personal moments. It's an experimental film from Steven Soderbergh, so let's dive in and see if the gimmick is worthwhile. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Boo!
This is Horror Movie Podcast. We get together, talk about a film you watched. Today we are looking at a film called Presence, which is technically a 2024 movie, but we're counting it as 2025 because it only had a few festival releases in 2024 and didn't get a wide release until January 2025. But this is a Steven Soderbergh directed film, and the gimmick with this, and I think it's fair to call it a gimmick, is that the entire film is from the perspective of the ghost or spirit or whatever the entity is that's inside the house. So that's the shtick. That's the thing that's the sales pitch for this movie. And it does have Lucille in it, so it has at least one kind of fairly well-known star. And that's about it. The teenage daughter is played by Callina Liang, who probably you won't know yet, but she's about to be Chun-Li in the new Street Fighter movie, which I guess is notable.
Cool.
Was it? Some fake enthusiasm there, I felt, Tim.
No, actually, it's funny. I just rewatched the original 94, 95 Street Fighter film today.
Yes. Quick, change the channel. Yes, that one.
Which I assume you must have done an extra reels about that.
Oh, that got a main collector's cut episode. That wasn't even extra reels.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about it. I think it's a vastly entertaining movie.
Oh, it is. It's aged wonderfully.
Yeah, so that's this just kind of funny that you brought it up. It's kind of funny. I was mildly excited for this new Street Fighter movie, but then I don't know. I started to get less excited when I don't know if you saw like that thing at the Game Awards where like they're presenting, and I guess the guy that plays Dan like got up and like was telling all these like really dumb jokes and trying to call out like Mortal Kombat, and then I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's like a pretty annoying comedian that I don't think has like the best views and stuff. So I don't know, it kind of soured me on the movie, which I was somewhat looking forward to, but I'll probably still check it out. But it's kind of annoying that this annoying guy seems to be in it.
I was record time to a Tim tangent. I mean, I know I brought up Street Fighter first, but it was only because I was mentioning the actor was going to be in it. Mm. And somehow you just happen to have watched the 94 Street Fighter. What's the chances of that?
Yeah, no, it's very strange. I'm already like, when you do your letterbox stats at the end of the year, and it's like, oh, like, these were your favorite genres, and it's like, comic book movie, blah, 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 whatever. I have a feeling that next year mine is probably going to say like video game movie or something, because I've just been... I've been watching some Street Fighters. I'm probably going to watch some Mortal Kombat. Obviously, we're going to have to finish up the Resident Evil movies. And then I'm going to watch the Silent Hill movies. And then, we're going to watch the new Resident Evil movie. And I've been watching Pokemon movies because my kid's obsessed with Pokemon. It's just weirdly video gamey. I'm already feeling the stats getting gamed up.
As interesting as all that is, let's get into the episode. So, Presence, yes, it's a movie with a gimmick, and it's kind of it's kind of weird because like this is a really hard movie to put into a genre. Obviously, it kind of falls into horror because we're kind of talking about a ghost, but because it's from the perspective of the ghost, it's not really a traditional spooky horror movie by any stretch. And there is some things that cause tension, but it's more like a drama with like a spooky like ingredient mixed into it. So it's about the best as I can describe it. I don't know. It's the best I've got for you. That said, though, we will start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go into the spoilers. And if you're enjoying the show, please do hit the like button on YouTube. It helps out a bunch. You can give us 5 stars on your podcast app. And you can also get bonuses and support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But I'll tell you about that more at the end of the episode, as my words are falling apart, but that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, I'd heard about this at some point. I think you'd seen this already, right, though? You'd already watched this one.
Yeah, I watched it early on, last year's Octoberthon. And then I think at one point we were even thinking about squeezing it in because I watched it, and then we just ended up having a bit much to do because as we generally are busy in October. But yeah, I'd already seen it for that back then because I was trying to watch like a bunch of stuff I hadn't seen and mixed with stuff I have seen. So I checked that one out.
I wasn't really sure what to expect coming in from this because I'm not the biggest like Steven Soderbergh guy. Like
I was gonna ask you, yeah, how you felt about him. It is kind of funny because you're mentioning the gimmicky stuff, and like I feel like my perception of him was always like, oh, he's the oceans guy. Like those were the things I probably first like knew him from, I guess, and I just kind of always had that like image in my brain or whatever. Which recently I rewatched all the Oceans movies, which I think that they're it's a mixed bag when you get into the sequels, but man, that first one is fun, and it's great like seeing like stars on the screen. I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of people today that just aren't cutting it. like George Clooney, man, he is just like such a star, and like you watch like Finn Wolfhard or something, no offense to him, like he's fine, I guess, but like,
oh, hold on. Like when Finn Wolfhard's like leading up a heist movie, you can make this comparison. I don't think this is quite fair. I feel like Finn Wolfhard's catching some strays here.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Take your pick: John Cena, Channing Tatum, whoever people think are the big people nowadays. They're not bad, but like, I don't know, Clooney, he's just got it, man. And then same with like Pitt and whatever these other people are. But of course, I mean, you go back to watch like something like Silver Bullet, and it's hard to deny that he doesn't exude a presence on screen. Speaking of presences, but what was I getting? Oh yeah, Soderbergh. So yeah, it's funny. I always kind of thought of him as more like a traditional guy, but it seems like he is actually like, or at least maybe the last couple of years, he's really gotten into like these gimmicky things. Like I think the last time we probably talked about him was that movie Unsane, right?
Yeah, that was like 5 years ago now. But yeah, I mean, yeah. I get that the passage of time is deteriorating before our eyes.
But like, remember, like the big thing with I think with that one was like, oh, it's like all shot on like a cell phone and stuff, and like I don't know, like I feel like he like does these kind of interesting like artistic choices or challenges he kind of sets out for himself. Like he seems to like to do these kind of gimmicky things, which I mean sometimes works out, sometimes
and for the record,
I guess, but
another word for gimmicky in this case would be experimental, which is perhaps a more
yeah.
like forgiving word to use. I mean, when I said gimmick, I didn't really mean it in a negative way. It was just, but I think when you can sum up,
I get it, yeah,
the unique element of a movie and the entire movie revolves around it, that's a gimmick. The movie's got a gimmick, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
I don't know, I feel like he's actually done a lot more movies than I've realized, so I don't know, it's maybe a bit hard for me to judge exactly how I feel about him without having seen like a large chunk of his work. But I think from the stuff I've seen, I would say I'm fairly positive with him as a director. I don't know if he announces a new movie, I'm not frothing at the mouth and jumping in line, I guess, but he's a guy that I don't know, I feel like lately thinking about his stuff, maybe I'm a bit more interested in checking out some things I've missed. But I guess that's kind of how I feel about him.
He did the first and third Magic Mike movies as well.
I have zero interest in them, but I've actually heard people say that they are like kind of good. So I don't know, maybe I should check them out at some point. I mean, like, I guess I really don't know what they're about. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're like comedies or dramas, or if there's crime elements, or if it's literally just like about guys dancing and stripping. I don't know, but I wouldn't mind checking them out if they're streaming somewhere. Although now it seems like nothing's streaming anymore. Every time I try to look for a movie, it's not on there because people just want to put out their own original content that no one gives a shit about. But whatever.
Also, Soderbergh did do the shitty remake of Solaris, so he's in my shit list for that for pretty much ever.
I don't even know what that is. So
That's fine, Tim. It's just, the original film is cinema, and his remake is the Cliff Notes version. That's not very good.
okay.
But anyway, to get into Presence, finally, after what feels like about 10 deviations down a windy road, what do you think of Presence, Tim?
So yeah, obviously going in, I knew what the whole gimmick shtick of it was, and I was kind of starting it with the notion of this could either be really interesting or it could be extremely boring, and if I have to shut it off after 10 or 15 minutes, so be it. This is when I just watch it on the own, not for the podcast.
Oh, so, yeah, turning it off after 10 minutes is never an option if you're watching it for the show.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I watched Resident Evil Extinction. Sure.
I'll be testing you, Tim. I'll be a quiz.
Oh yeah, I love Alex. Is that the main character? Anyway, so yeah, when I started this, and then yeah, like after a little bit, I was starting to get a little nervous. I was like, not sure how I'm feeling about this movie, but I stuck with it, and honestly, I ended up getting like quite sucked into it. Like you said, this is probably more like a family drama than a horror movie. But just with some interesting elements and stuff thrown in here and there. And I will say, like, the one or time, the couple of times when like something spooky happens, I do think it ends up being pretty effective, probably because of how sparse it can be. And then I actually do think the ending is really, really effective. So yeah, I actually ended up liking it. I thought it was pretty easy to get sucked in to these people's lives. The characters were interesting enough, and yeah, like I don't know. Honestly, like though, I did like it, but I don't know if there's like a ton to say about it. It moves like pretty quickly, which is good because I don't think you could sustain like this for 2 hours. It's slightly under 90 minutes, which I think the length works for it. But yeah, I ended up liking it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this because, like I said, I've got kind of a mixed history with what Soderbergh I have seen, which, to be fair, is only a small percentage of his actual set of movies. Contagion, I remember being decent enough. I really did not like Side Effects. Unsane was kind of interesting, although I've never felt the desire to go back to it. So, I really didn't know what I'd feel here, but like at the very least, it sounded like an intriguing premise. We got In a Violent Nature for the movie from the perspective of the slasher villain, so why not a movie from the perspective of the ghost that's haunting the house? So I think it's an interesting movie. I think it does build suitable drama and suspense out of what it sets up with the characters. It arguably has one of the best villains of 2025 in it.
Oh, sure.
I would say that. Obviously, that's not something we'll talk about really till spoilers, because it's all spoilery to even say who it is. But I think that's to its credit and made me kind of like on my edge of my seat a couple times, getting invested in what was going to happen. At the same time, though, it does feel like a movie that was built around a gimmick, right? It feels like a movie where the idea was had first. Oh, let's write a script that's all from the perspective and shoot to all from the POV of a ghost or a spirit in the house. And what can we do with that premise? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not even saying that as a critique. But all I mean by that is that I don't know if I was getting like, I don't know. Like I guess it's pretty surface level what it's doing. I feel like for the most part, but it's relatively effective. I think it does a couple of smart little things with how it moves the camera to maybe try and give the silent presence at least a little bit of a, not even a personality, but just like a couple of times it does it'll do something to show you how the presence is feeling, right? And it'll be something simple as like, oh, the camera ducks behind the door because it doesn't want to look at something. It's like, oh, I get that it's not wanting to look at a thing, so it cares about this thing or feels uncomfortable or whatever it may be, and it works in those moments. I think that is well done. So I think overall I'm fairly positive. I wouldn't say I loved it. I wonder how it'll hold up on repeat viewings, which I guess at least a little bit because this is the second time you've watched it.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I was worried about, especially because, it's not like I watched this 2 years ago or whatever. It's like, okay, it's, just a few months in between viewing, so it's relatively short. But yeah, I would say, maybe it wasn't as suspenseful, but I guess my worry was, all right, it's going to be really boring on a rewatch because, you know what happens. But I would still say I was fairly invested in it. And again, I think the, performances are good and the people, play things out like pretty naturally. And, I feel like the family gimmick and stuff like family dynamic. And yeah, so it wasn't like a hard rewatch or anything. Yeah, but I mean, I think I like agree with what you're saying. Like I think it's effective in what it sets out to do, but yeah, maybe it doesn't go the extra mile to like maybe necessarily wow you where it's like, oh, like, okay, I understand what they're going for, but then I didn't think they would like do this thing or that thing. Really surprised me. It's like, I mean, it is fairly, what it is. Like when you think, oh, told from the ghost point of view, it's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's pretty much, what they did. And they didn't do it badly, but yeah, maybe it doesn't go above and beyond. But I think it's still a fairly good watch.
Yeah, and I think it kind of telegraphs a little something for the end, which we'll talk about once we get into spoilers. Otherwise, though, I mean, I think it's fairly competent. I think the music's pretty good. There's a couple of times where it felt like it was overly dramatic, where it would kick in really hard, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this moment necessarily called for this dramatic track, but it's good. It sounds good, so I'll roll with it. There was a couple of times with that. And naturally, because we're following the POV of a ghost, effectively, it means that we're on a steady cam pretty much the entire time, and it also means that every scene's a oneer, right? And not that they're all long scenes, sometimes they are quick scenes and there'll be a time jump ahead and we'll start fresh there. So it's not like, I wouldn't say that it's a movie of lots of long takes per se, but if there is a long scene because there's a conversation between two people or a group of people that goes on for a while, then it does have to all be done in one shot because there's no cuts. Like it's all just like all in one shot until it cuts to a new scene. So if you like that type of energy, and the idea that the camera is, because that's what we're saying when we're talking about the presence, what we're really saying is the camera. The camera's a character in this movie, and in a weird, inadvertent way, we're kind of that character because we're the ones watching through the camera. So, I guess it makes you feel more involved. Like sure. Something as simple as something bad might be happening, and you can tell the presence wants to intervene, but it can't physically do anything. That's kind of a smart technique because we feel that way as the audience. We see something bad going to happen and we can't intervene. We can't reach out and stop it from happening, just like the presence, for the most part, can't reach out and stop it from happening. So there's a bit of thought went into like why this premise might work, why this gimmick does work beyond it just sounding kind of cool, is that you can relate to the helplessness but wanting to like help these characters you're watching because you're basically the character in the movie. So, that's good stuff.
Yeah, it definitely works, and yeah, like I feel like there's a lot of times where, like, I don't know, it feels like, the camera, it kind of has this nice like glide to it, which I feel like works for, having kind of this otherworldly, ghostly presence to it or whatever. So
it does look distinct, like because they're doing this thing where there's a lot of like moving around room to room and there's light coming in all the windows. Like it does feel like because the camera has to spin around, they can't have a lot of like super fancy lighting rigs unless they're CGing a bunch of things out. But I don't think they are. I think they're doing a lot of natural lighting where, okay, we're going to have like these lights that are in scene, and that's pretty much all we can have. So it has a very kind of, it almost doesn't look like and I don't mean to say this in a lack of quality. It looks very high quality. I was watching it in 4K. It looks very nice, but it doesn't look like it's lit like a professional movie in the traditional sense, because it inherently can't be, because they have to have the camera moving around so much and turning in every direction. So you can't just have lots of lights, facing a certain way or whatever. So, and I'm sure there's some lights somewhere. I'm sure there's some trickery to try and get some extra lighting in that we can't see in the scene. But for the most part, it does kind of seem like it's maybe just, the lamps in the room and that kind of thing. And that can be tough. That can end up looking kind of weird. But that just kind of adds into why this is kind of experimental, maybe on a technical level, as well as the perspective level that obviously it's doing. So, yeah. I think it's an interesting movie. I think it's worth seeing. I don't think it's going to work for everyone per se, but I am a fan of storytelling techniques that put in like limitations that then the creators have to work around. So having this kind of like, we can never just cut to a scene that takes place in a different location. We can never just cut to a scene at this high school or a scene at the parents' work or anything like that. We have to tell a story that can only be seen through this. It's kind of something that maybe you'd get in like a found footage movie. Not like a like a faux documentary thing, but like I'm thinking like a Paranormal Activity where it's just the cameras in the house that we're seeing. It kind of has the same rules as that in a lot of ways, where it can only be stuff that happens in the house, but with its own spin on it, because we're not doing that exact same thing, and we're not just trying to be creepy. All right, well, I mean, if there's nothing else to say spoiler free, I think we can probably give the spoiler warning and get into it. So spoilers for Presence, you have been warned. So we have a family of 4 moving in, although the movie starts with just the empty house and the presence looking around the windows and kind of just scoping the place out, and it's like, have we always been here? Is this like someone who died in the house and we're hanging out here now? Is there something? And obviously there is something else to it, but we'll get to that later. But there's a family of 4, parents and 2 kids, both teenagers. Mom's Rebecca, played by Lucy Liu. Dad is Chris, played by Chris Sullivan. And then the teenagers are Chloe, played by Callina Liang, and Tyler, played by Eddy Maday. Actually, question, do you oddly feel like related to this family because it's a white dad and then like an Asian wife and 2 Asian kids, or I guess half Asian kids, but they look Asian, so.
No.
I mean, this is basically a glimpse into your future. You realize that, right?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like my mom is gonna be committing any, or not my mom, my wife, the kid's mom. I don't
that's
think,
a slip.
Well, I'm thinking because I think of Lucy Liu as the mom in the movie. So,
okay,
but
sure.
Yeah, in my life, the mother character, I don't think she's gonna be committing any like white collar crimes or whatever is going on in this movie.
Yeah, that's like a subplot, if you want to call it that she's up to something illegal. That we never really get the full details of what exactly it is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unclear. That's kind of left fairly open at the end as to like what the resolution to that was, because it wasn't the main focus of the movie, but they spend enough time on it. I was kind of expecting it to be something. But anyway, the setup of this family is that the mother is a workaholic and she loves her son, right? Tyler is like this, like, I don't know, he's like an athlete swimmer. He's winning competitions. It's a big deal. She's always praising him, always saying big things. But she seems to forget her daughter. Chloe never seems to like come up in her mind. The dad's kind of the one that has to step in and be a parent to her. And she's going through stuff because her best friend passed away some months ago. Parents found her, in her bed one morning. She stopped breathing in her sleep, and that's kind of, and that becomes a thing where she thinks this, when she feels a presence in the house, she thinks it's her best friend for like a lot of the movie. She just assumes that it's, was it Adira? I think she said her name was.
Nadia.
Nadia. Where am I getting Adira from? Adira.
Good question.
Yeah, Nadia. She had Nadia. Yeah, and that's kind of the setup, and it tends to be around the teenage daughter, Chloe, that the presence is mostly hovering or kind of keeping an eye on, and there is actually a reason for that as we get to the very end of the movie, but that's the basic setup of things. And a lot of the early stuff that happens is just like feeling the presence, looking at her, or and sort of like walking towards the camera, and the camera backing away as if not to like try and like draw more attention to itself, which is interesting. But I suppose the big thing that happens, which is this is where it made me think of In a Violent Nature a little bit, because you know how in A Violent Nature we see how the serial killer like makes a noise to like direct the potential victims to an area so it can like sneak around and surprise them. We see the spirit here like move a couple of her books on her bed over to the desk, and from her perspective she comes out of the bathroom and her stuff's all moved to the table and she starts freaking out, but we just saw it be moved over. It was like the ghost was just tidying. It's like there was nothing creepy about it. It was just a bit straightforward you can get.
Honestly, I thought that was a bit of a weird reaction, because like I would be freaked out if stuff of mine was moved around, but I also would probably just be like, oh wait, did I move that? Or like, did maybe someone come in and put that on the desk or something for some reason? Yeah,
well, nearly 40, Tim, I believe. But I mean, I feel like that's a lot of your senile development happening that makes that more believable. Like 16-year-old Tim, I'm sure you were much sharper. You were much more, no, I know I didn't do that.
Sure.
No? Okay, you've always been this way. That's depressing.
I mean, you never like put something down and then like come back and go like, oh, I thought I put it there. Oh, it turns out it's over there.
Of course like, I have, yes. But this is...
And I'm not saying she can't be freaked out. It's just like she starts screaming bloody murder like, it's the craziest thing in the world. And I just thought that was like a bit of an overreaction, but...
well, I wouldn't say she screams bloody murder. She has like one shriek, and then her dad comes and check on her, and she's like, "Oh, I thought I saw a rat." That's like her excuse for screaming. But it's to be fair to her though, I think this was like 4 books on the bed that are all neatly piled up now on the desk. Like if that feels like a bit more specific than just, oh, I thought I put my phone over there. No, it's actually over on this side, kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah,
a little bit different, but. There's that, but the big plot of the movie, really, to get into it, is that the brother Tyler brings over a friend early on
Ryan?
In the movie. Ryan, yes, who's got a haircut right out of the mid-90s. I don't know where we stumbled at. I would say it's set in the 90s, except everyone's got a smartphone, and at one point like there's a reference to something happening in 2003, so we're definitely not in the 90s, but it's like, okay, fine, we're doing stuff, and it kind of lingers on like her trying to act cool, just sort of lying in her bed as the brother introduces them, and it's like, okay, this feels like it's setting up a thing, and sure enough, one of the next sequences we get with Ryan is that he must have been waiting outside for the brother. And I think this is intentional on his part, but knowing that he's not there, but gets to speaking to her instead. And Chloe invites him in, gives him, offers him a drink, invites him up to her room, and goes through this. Which actually, so Ryan's the villain of the movie, right? But we're not quite at villain status yet, right? We're just kind of at, oh, he's a teenage boy he's up to no good, right? In a more normal way, but. I have to say, some of the shit that comes out of this kid's mouth.
Oh, God.
and in this particular scene, even he brings it back up later as well, but it's really this first scene where he's sitting in the bed with her, and he starts talking about how, like, no choice is mine. I have never made a choice. Everyone else has choice. And then he turns to Chloe and says, the choice is yours, Like, it's up to you where this goes. And I'm like... Yeah. Okay, you sound like someone who is overcompensating for the fact that you're secretly going to be in control, or that you're going to do something very bad. Like, just right away I was getting ding, 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 red flag, villain alert, villain alert.
Oh yeah, he's like the king of gaslighting. Like he's he's like perfected this method to make it seem like, everything is your choice, as he's like, very obviously manipulating you into, you know,
But
like doing what he wants to do.
but notably in like a very kind of like pseudo philosophical way, where he's like sort of like he's trying to sound like he's artsy and fartsy as he's talking about freedom and choice and whatever, and I'm like, about Chloe, what? No, Chloe, why are you falling for this? Like, come on now.
I mean, yeah, I mean, this is like the definite perspective of, people like our age, like going like, oh, come on, don't fall for this crap. But I could see, impressionable young teenagers like listening to something like that and being like, oh, it's so deep. Like when you're watching the movie, no one is probably actually thinking that, but in real life, like, I don't know, like I can see that working on some people. Hell, probably would have worked on me when I was that age.
What if Ryan did this to you?
I mean, he is like the coolest guy in school.
Oh, apparently, yeah. Everyone wants to bit of Ryan.
There's like a lot of lines that are actually like kind of making me laugh. Like I think at one point Tyler says something like, he's like, oh, like, maybe they're talking about moving or something. And he's like, no, like, things are going so good for me here. Like Ryan, the coolest guy in school, befriended me. Do you know how big that is? I'm just like who talks like that? Like,
oh, don't worry. I've got a lot to say about stuff that the brother says. We'll get to that. But just stick with the Ryan stuff just now. So
right, yeah.
They kind of get kissy a little bit, and as this is happening, the spirit or the presence, I'll call it the presence because that's what the movie's called, like intentionally goes over to the closet and like knocks down a bunch of shit, and that freaks them out, and it kind of puts a stop to what's happening, right? Because they're even, I think they're even maybe starting to take off their shirts here as well, and it's like, okay, the spirit stepped in and stopped them from doing this. That's fine. However, a little bit later, it basically just cuts to a scene where they're already having sex, and the presence is in the closet, and it's kind of the closet it always goes to hide in when it feels like it's maybe interfered too much, and you kind of feel like, oh, I've overstepped my bounds, I'm going to go hide in my closet. But here it's like sort of like trying to not look at the sex, like it's uncomfortable, like watching them have sex, and that felt like it said a lot about the presence, and it actually kind of, it lined up with something to tease a little bit later, but I was really noticing like how it was like avoiding looking at this.
Yeah, it didn't register much with me the first time I watched it, but on a second viewing, knowing, the ending and stuff, it stood out a little bit more. Ryan's
unlikable, right? He's pretty unlikable. It feels like he just says whatever
Absolutely.
bullshit to get laid is basically it.
Yeah. It is funny though, like whenever the presence does intervene and like shake stuff or spill stuff or whatever, he gets like very upset, and it's like you're saying before, like his whole thing is talking about how, oh, I have no control, blah blah blah, but he obviously does, and then when something like that intervenes that's out of his control, he gets like so pissed, and it's interesting to see him lose his cool at those moments, like when it's just like total, like, oh, your facade is completely gone.
Yeah, he really wants Greenland, and then when he's told he can't have Greenland, he gets really upset about it. So,
Very good.
I mean, we recorded this a couple of weeks in advance. I hope that's not horrifically like poor taste by the time this goes out.
Jesus.
I'm worried. Anyway, so it's like, okay, he's super unlikable, even though, like, honestly, it doesn't even feel like he has to do all the philosophical bullshit, because even like when she first comes in with them and she's like, hey, do you want to see my room? And he's like, oh, I've seen it. And she's like, a girl just asked you if you want to see your room. Are you an idiot? Like,
Yep.
like she clearly already's gun-ho and like wants to rebel and be active sexually. Like she's basically putting up like landing strips saying like, land here. Regardless, right? So this time where we've cut ahead and they're having sex already, and it cuts to after that's over, and they're just making small talk, and it seems pleasant enough. She's going for a shower, and he's going to get them some drinks. She doesn't want booze though, because we've seen them have booze before. I think the one scene where he was getting all philosophical, I think technically they were a little bit high. I think they had some brownies or something. They didn't really go into it. It was just kind of like sitting off to the side to imply it.
Oh, sure.
But he comes back up with some orange juice, right? Fine. But when he sees that she's in the bathroom, he pulls out a little pouch of something, right? and puts it in her drink, and like the spirit, like the presence, the camera gets right up behind him and is like, what's this? evil, this bad things are happening. Okay, I didn't approve of the sex before, but now this is like straight up, and in the moment I'm thinking, and not this is excuse you, like not that having sex already consensually makes this okay, but in the moment I was thinking, you just had sex, why are you roofing her? I don't understand. Obviously the end of the movie explains what he's actually doing here. He's not trying to do this for sex, but it's still, in the moment I was like, but you just had the sex. I don't even understand from an evil person's perspective why you're doing this.
No, I had the same thought. I was like, oh, that's strange. But yeah, obviously, yeah, it makes sense in the end.
Yeah, is it because she said no to round 2? Is that it? What is a douchebag? So, right, but anyway, the ghost like just violently shakes the table as best it can to spill the drink so that it doesn't happen, and it's like, okay, all right, that's that. No need to worry about it. All right, we've moved on. But he's like, hey, I need to see you again. Like, I need to see more of you, like, for longer. And she's like, well, my parents are going out of town, like, for the weekend. You know, you could come over. And he's like, but my brother will be here, though. And he's like, oh, don't worry. I'll take care of that. Which, red flag number 2, right? Like, right, forget the drink thing, because she doesn't know about that, right? I mean, obviously, that is a giant, huge... I mean, it's not even a red flag. That's like, the red flag's the warning sign, the drink thing's the actual crime. So, yeah. I don't know if I'd count that anyway. But, like, just from her perspective, right, this is another red flag. But, yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that, like, yeah, they don't even bring up the subject of, like, oh, well, if you like me, you want to see me again, maybe, like, you know, we can tell people we're dating and we can break it to my brother or something. Like, they don't even like do like have that discussion. They just go straight to like, okay, yeah, I'll drug your brother and we'll be all set.
Yeah, well, he makes a little joke. I don't know if she completely understands what he means when he kind of makes that joke, but it's like, okay, weird. And obviously by the time he does come over for this like night when the parents are away, we're towards the end of the movie at that point, and so much other stuff with the spirits happened, and you know, the family relationships have been developing from that point on. So I guess we'll go back and talk about those now, so we're not just jumping to the end. But that's one of the main plot threads going throughout. And it's definitely the one with the most tension, because he's clearly up to something bad, and we're kind of, you know, we're building up to it. So yeah, that's your main sort of source of tension. Well, at least in the suspenseful sense. Obviously, there's some family tension in different ways, like the mother and son relationship, and just how like weird that is, like, because the brother's kind of a dick, where he's like just kind of like, he snaps at his sister when she says she saw something like a presence, and he's like, oh, she's wrong in the head, test her piss, like she's, you know, I have to like screw up my life because she's effing crazy and doing this, and it makes the dad angry. Like, the dad a couple times has to yell at the son when he gets legitimately pissed off at how he's treating his sister. But there's a sequence like maybe like halfway, maybe 2/3 in, where it was mentioned before that he was planning a prank on some girl named Isabel or something like that. And
well, I think it was like his friend was pulling the prank, but he was like very like gleefully retelling the story, and then it seemed like he might have had some involvement in the end.
Well, he was involved in that. He was in the group because it involved a whole audience to embarrass this girl, so he was at least one of the group. So he was in on the plan. He knew it was happening. He was sort of like by the friend's side as he was doing it. But they do a whole thing. But he's telling this story to his mother, who is laughing as she takes swigs of her alcohol, that her teenage son is laughing and openly, like, pridefully telling the story to his whole family about how they, like, humiliated this innocent girl. And the dad's clearly mortified, like, this is bullshit behavior. Also, he keeps dropping F-bombs, and the dad keeps pointing that out, like, the F-bombs don't even have any meaning anymore. He's not even yelling at him. He's just like, the F-bombs have no meaning anymore. You've said it too many times. It has no effect. And, like, Lucy Liu's just laughing and giggling and going, oh, that's awful, ha ha ha. And it's just like, don't you have a problem? The fact that your son's like a monster who's like humiliated this girl, and like now this photograph of this girl is like being spread around the internet, and like everyone's freaking out about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange, but I guess it does kind of fit the characters because we've seen the mom. Obviously, like we don't know what she did, but she seems to be involved in some shady stuff, and she clearly like, I guess is just one of those moms that just wants the world for their son and doesn't care what it does to him. Or
she's encouraged this, not this specific behavior, but she is pampered and spoiled and told him he is the best forever.
Yeah, because like there's a scene where she says something like she doesn't come out and say exactly what she's doing, but she's telling the son like, like anything I do, I would do it for you. Like, if anything comes out, it's like because for you and stuff. So it's like,
and she says, "You're the closest to any human being I've ever felt." And he literally says, "What about my sister?" It's like, oh, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, she's got a favorite.
Yeah. I mean, strange, but I definitely wouldn't put it past like for some people to be like that. And then Tim's got a rankings that changes every month depending on how well behaved these kids are. He's like, okay, now up in the rankings this month, you've taken first place. I mean, I love my kids, but it's I can't ignore my firstborn, the dogs and the cats. They're always pretty high up there.
So your daughter's just always at the bottom? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean it fluctuates, but
you literally said your dogs, your cats, and your firstborn. You said every single quote unquote child other than your daughter.
No, I was saying that my dogs and cats, those I consider those to be the firstborn. Like those were our first kids.
Okay, I see.
Sorry. Yeah,
I see.
But then it depends. Sometimes someone gives you a good gift, and they go up a bit, or they make you a nice dinner, or let you have some of their dessert, and
some bribery is what you're telling me. Then there's bribery going on.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
it's a rigged system for sure. But honestly, though, like I felt like the dad's character felt actually very realistic, where it's just like he just seems like so beaten down, and like you're saying, they're like telling this like awful story, and he's just like. At first it's like he's trying to make his point, but then just realizes like no one's listening to him, and then it just kind of gets to like him just kind of having these asides like, I don't even, this sounds awful. What are you talking about? Like the stuff you say doesn't even mean anything anymore. But I actually thought that stuff like was like really well. Like I don't know, I liked how the dad, I don't know, just kind of I don't know, just like had this like exhaustiveness, but also like like he also obviously like cares very much about his family, and then like he will like try to like stand up for the daughter and stuff when it happens. So I like that it's not just all one-sided, like the whole family's against her or something.
Yeah, and this sequence is notable because the presence gets uncomfortable and like runs to his closet like when he's heard too much. And this actually does tie into who it turns out to be, because so there is a sequence where, to try and get everyone's attention, when he gets really pissed off, he goes up to like the bed. Maybe it is this during this sequence actually that he does this. I can't remember.
I think so.
But he goes up to like the son's bedroom and starts like pulling trophies off the shelves and like banging the drawers and doing everything they can, and the whole family sees it. This is the sequence where it's not just the daughter anymore. All of them see this happen. Cut to them outside the house. So they're on the porch and they're debating what to do, and like, should they go back in? They're all scared. They're debating. The daughter thinks it's her dead best friend, and like the parents are freaking out. The brother's freaking out. This is actually the scene where the dad really starts like giving the son some stern talkings to, because he starts like dropping F-bombs at his sister again and calling her crazy, and like the dad just like yells and says, "Look, if you keep coming at her, I'm going to start coming at you." And like it's not like a straight up threat of violence, but it's kind of like, no, you're actually making me angry now, and his voice like reflects that. It gets really, really intense. So that like sets stuff up, and it's like, okay, and this leads to them calling someone, and someone knows someone who's a psychic or has a sixth sense or something.
I think they called like the realtor, who basically said like, if there was stuff that was reported before I sold the house legally, I would have had to have told you, but there wasn't anything like that. But then I think she says like her sister-in-law or something. Yeah, like does these, can sense things, or she doesn't come out and say like, oh, she's like a medium or something, but she's kind of like, oh, she's like,
There's a really nice touch that when she first arrives the next day, as soon as she gets to the first door and the camera's right up there, she sort of looks right at the camera and the camera backs away. It's like a really nice little moment of like, oh, she can sense we're here.
Yeah, because that almost like never happens in the movie. Because usually, yeah, like the camera's watching people, but it's usually like off to the side or in like the closet or something somewhere. So it is actually like very little in the movie where you actually like seeing someone like up close in their face or whatever. So yeah, when it does, it's like a shock.
Yeah, and she goes into a bunch of things and says, hey, you're going through some stuff. But the main thing she gets to, though, aside from saying some details that kind of prove she is sensing something, is that she talks about how this presence, whatever it is, doesn't even know who it is, right? It's confused, and there's a purpose to why it's here, but it doesn't know what its purpose is yet. But the real smoking gun here of this conversation, which kind of just opens you up to, like, I would say a pretty narrow guess of what the presence is when she says, time works differently for the presence, like past and future and present could all be happening at once, and therefore, that may be why it doesn't know what it is yet. And as soon as she said that, I'm like, okay, it's one of the family members, right? Like, if you've introduced this idea that this could literally be one of them from the future, and you've also kind of heavily implied that nothing creepy happened in the house before they moved in, I can only assume it's specifically related to them, and therefore it's one of them. Like, this is either maybe it's the girl, and then obviously it turns out to be the brother. It's actually him, and then it makes sense why he rushed out, because he couldn't take hearing himself be this awful person, making fun of this girl that he bullied and helped pull a prank on. It all of a sudden makes sense why he ran away. It makes sense why he couldn't watch his sister have sex. He had to kind of look the other way, and sort of how torturous that was for him. All of that makes sense once you find out and realize it's him by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think on my first viewing, I either missed that part or, like, I guess it didn't make as much of an impact on me. But then, obviously, by the end, it's very obvious that it's the brother. So then, rewatching it was more interesting knowing that going in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had like reasons for why it could be, like, before we got to the end, like there was reasons why it could be any of the family members, like the dad, because he's already the one that cares about her, so that kind of makes sense. But more likely, it's either the mum or the brother, because they both have like mistakes to make up for. The mum's kind of neglected her, so she'd have like a reason to feel guilty and want to protect her now in hindsight. Or the brother, kind of similar vein, oh, he's been kind of shitty to her, and this is now like, oh, he's seeing like, what those final months or whatever long this takes over of his life was, and like how that. So, and then there's a second scene with this psychic lady where she never comes in the house, but she comes back and talks to the dad outside, and like the spirit's looking outside the window. And she says, hey, I had a dream about this presence, and whatever it is to do with a window. It's to do with the window in the house. So that kind of also teases where it's going to go towards the end as well. But
yeah, I forget if she, like, did she call it like the window that won't open or doesn't open or something like that?
Yeah, something to that effect, yeah.
Yeah, and but again, yeah, it's a nice little bit of foreshadowing, and then it's like you're saying before, like you weren't sure how this might hold up on a rewatch. Like I don't know if it's one that you want to watch like over and over again, but I do think it is interesting seeing some of these things like play out once you know what happens on the end, because then it's like, oh, you can appreciate like the foreshadowing and the little hints that they're dropping and stuff. So I feel like it's at least good for one other rewatch somewhere down the line with that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it does, like I'll at least a lot of the scenes in hindsight, when I know it's the brother, like they do kind of make sense. Like a lot of the big scenes I can remember all of a sudden make a lot of sense with it being him. So I do appreciate that. Like it doesn't just feel like it's out of nowhere. But that said, as soon as the psychic lady said what she said, I'm like, okay, it's one of the family, right? I don't think it's Chloe herself. I mean, it was possible, but I thought that was the least likely option. I thought it was more likely because it feels like whatever it is probably because they're clinging to her. They're probably trying to save her. So maybe there's an argument that she maybe did die originally, but like the spirit of the brother is now made sure she didn't die or something. I don't know if you even could, or maybe it was just always going to happen this way, and it was just like a self-fulfilling predestination thing. But regardless, that's kind of how all that stuff sets up.
And it's a nice little addition to the story where it's like, okay, so this adds something to it where it's not just like, a straight up ghost story. Like there's a bit more reason and intention behind it, and I think it's like a cool little idea.
Yeah, and so the other thing we kind of alluded to earlier was the mum doing like the white collar crime stuff, whatever it is. That kind of like progresses because the dad clearly knows about it, and there's a whole sequence where he like sneaks outside and like calls like a lawyer friend or someone at least has some legal experience and says, hey, I have this friend who had the hypothetical question. I just wanted to run it past you. So let's say there's a married couple and one of them's engaged in something that's not entirely illegal. What are the ramifications for the spouse? And you don't hear what the answer is, but then he says, okay, but what if they're legally separated? So he's clearly thinking about getting divorced because he can see the eventuality of whatever Lucy Liu's character's done to make extra money or whatever it is has caused a problem. So, but yeah,
it is intriguing. I'm like, what the hell did she do that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough, but because you hear a conversation she has on the phone early on where she's saying to someone that she's sleeping at night, as if she's not feeling guilty about whatever she's done. So but then the next time you see her, she's drunk, like telling her son, whatever I've done it for you. Like, so she's clearly like in denial that she feels some guilt for whatever it is that she has done. But regardless, the only kind of resolution we get to it though is that when they're going away for this weekend, like the dad, Chris, kind of admits to her, hey, I considered like jumping off the train, right? And because I was scared of the consequences of what you've done. But if you let me, I will be here for you while we go through whatever, the consequences of this. Let's go talk to the legal guy at your work, blah, 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 blah. And she kind of doesn't really agree to anything. She kind of like refuses to like admit anything, but she still accepts him coming on the trip, which I think is meant to be the subtle thing of like, okay, maybe there's going to be an advancement there, but we never get like a resolution to that. We never get like a, they did go and get advice on the trip, and maybe they're, she's going to work it out somehow and somehow pay for her crimes, or I don't know, whatever the resolution could be.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's mostly just kind of set up for why they're not there that, particular night, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's also the parents are there to kind of like set up the stories of the two teenagers more than anything else, and like how they are with them. Sure. Yeah. Whereas the mum only seems to care about the son and is kind of awkward. There's a scene where she comes in and like picks up a couple of clothes and has ironed a shirt for the daughter, and it's like her trying to be a mum, but then just kind of leaves, and it just feels a little bit cold. Whereas the dad comes in at one point and like sits down and says, hey, my mother was very spiritual and religious, like almost to a point, and she was easy to make fun of for being like super, super Catholic. But I believe you, and I believe that you're sensing something in this house. I believe that you're maybe different from us, and that's why you can sense it. And that's special. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, it's a really nice little pep talk, and he hugs her, and it's it's a nice little sequence. But yeah, so the big climax of the movie though is Ryan's over, and he's with the brother first because the brother's there, and notably the brother has a little moment where he like almost senses the presence when he's on his own, but he shrugs it off. He takes a swig of booze. Also, these parents are not checking how much booze they're going through because these kids are just taking it like left and right. But Ryan's over, and he says he wants some orange juice with his vodka.
Sorry. I guess like you could make an assumption that the mom knows that Tyler is drinking, but it's just, it's fine. He can do whatever he wants.
Oh, he's okay. Yeah, his mom's little angel. He's allowed to have booze. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably that actually might be more accurate. So he goes off to the other room, and just like before, when he's making these drinks, he puts in some crushed up pills or whatever into the drink for the brother, for Tyler. And Tyler drinks it. He falls asleep, and then Ryan goes to make two more drinks, and drugs one of them again, and takes them up the stairs to Chloe. And Chloe kind of immediately has got a little bit of a more dour tone, and she's like, "Look, hey, I don't really want to do this. Like, I don't feel comfortable." And Ryan immediately starts doing the, "Oh, I've been an asshole. I've done something wrong, haven't I? Oh God, I'm so alone. Like, I'm the tortured individual." So like he pulls on this whole act, and she's like, no, you've done nothing wrong, and she's really trying to comfort him. He's like, "Oh, can we just talk then?" And he hands her the drink, and they both take their swigs. But then, of course, as they're talking, she's starting to doze off and fall asleep. But as she's getting closer and closer to being asleep, he starts kind of like revealing himself a little bit, where he's like, "Oh yes, do you like when I say you're in charge and you have the power and it's your choice? Yeah, well, that was my power to give." And then he starts to talk about how, and then I took it back, and then I gave it again, and then I've taken it back. And then by this point she's asleep, and he starts like, and I thought, I still thought it was a sexual thing. I still thought this was going to be that. But then he pulls out like a little strip of cellophane, and then he starts basically referencing the fact that he killed the best friend and another girl as well. Like, so this whole they just died in their sleep and they stopped breathing is because he was suffocating them. And he just starts kind of playing with her, where he's putting it over her face, and it's like, it's getting sucked into her mouth as she's breathing and she can't breathe. And then he pulls it away and he kind of monologues a little bit and he puts it back on. And the presence is watching this, of course. And then it decides to go down the stairs. We go down the camera with the stairs, and then we go up to the brother, and basically it does this pulsing, vibrating thing right in the brother's ear to try and wake him up, and all the lights start flickering. And when the brother wakes up, he immediately goes, "Oh, Chloe," and he runs up to, almost as if like the presence was able to whisper the name in his ear or something, like almost like pass on, finally make something coherent to someone.
Yeah, like obviously you don't hear it like audibly say anything, but I get the feeling that it is able to relay some type of message or something, or at least give them this sense that there's some type of danger going on.
Yeah, I think it's just like a send, like just like an impulse, like you have to go to Chloe. Like no details, no like explanation, just like get to Chloe. It's just kind of like I think the impulse that he feels when he wakes up, and he does. We follow him run up the stairs, and he runs in and catches Ryan in the act and says, "Get away from her," and dives at him at the window, and they both go flying out the window and fall to their deaths. And that's the end of that scene. Which maybe, like, if I have a critique, is maybe that it's so quick that maybe more of a, I don't know, a struggle necessary, but just a moment more for Tyler to realize just how monstrous Ryan is, right? Because it's so quick that it's like over like that. But then again, I suppose technically the entire movie's been him watching what Ryan's been doing, right, as a ghost. Right. So he does know what Ryan's like. He's been having to witness it, and it's been this painful thing to watch happen throughout the entire movie.
Obviously, it's more dramatic and cinematic and stuff, but like, I feel like, you could just kind of like throw him off or start fighting him or something. It's like, do you have to dive through the window? Is that the best option at this point?
I don't think. Well, he kind of does have to, though, right? Because if he doesn't dive through the window, he won't die, and if he doesn't die, he won't be able to go back and save her. Point. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So he kind of has to. Yeah, he has to like do this to save his sister. So yeah, I mean, in a roundabout way, it does make sense. So the interesting about the ending, which it cuts ahead in time, and like it's Chloe like just sort of like getting one last thing out the closet. They're moving house. They clearly don't want to stay here anymore, and she goes downstairs, and her mum's like sort of standing at the window, and she's like, "Oh, we'll be outside. Just take a minute." and we actually follow Lucy Liu back into the main room, and there's this like old mirror there that's been there the whole movie. And like we've not really mentioned it yet because like the psychic says like, oh, old mirrors are better than new ones, they've seen so much. And there's a moment where Lucy Liu sees her son in the reflection and she like screams like, and this is like a banshee, like she screams a lot. And like the other two come running in, and by the time they come in, you know, the face of the son disappears. And not like it fades away like mystically. It's the sort of thing where someone walks in front of the camera and then it's just gone when we get the visual back again. But yeah, the movie ends with them kind of all sitting there holding each other crying. The idea that, oh, maybe like she's finally, like everyone's finally realizing like that they have to be there for each other. And for the first time in the movie, we get to see the house because the camera comes back out the front door and starts to rise up. I guess the implication being that Tyler's going to heaven or wherever ghosts go when their unfinished business has been finished.
Yeah, I mean that at that point he's been able to, you know, close out his loop or whatever, and yeah, can move on. Yeah, I thought this was a, you know, particularly effective scene. Just you know, finally getting an image of, you know, what and who the presence is after, yeah, like, you know, being behind the camera for so long and then finally seeing, like, I mean, yeah, you probably could have, you know, guessed who it was at that point, but still just seeing it in the mirror is very effective. Obviously it's,
that's interesting. So to you, this was like the movie telling you who the presence was?
I think so, because I feel like it's looking in the mirror, so finally.
You're not wrong. Yeah. I just mean, like, for me, I wasn't even guessing at this point. To me, as soon as the brother went out the window, I'm like, oh, it's him. Like, he died. It's him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you probably already know at that point, but you know, the movie is at least showing it to you, or at the very least, it's, you know, showing his image to someone else in the family for the first time.
Yeah. I guess in my head, like, I'd already made up my mind, so to me this wasn't a confirmation, it was just a moment for her. It was a moment for Rebecca to see in the reflection, so that she knows that he was there, and then, you know, they all have their little breakdown. And hopefully they're going to be stronger for it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she just really, you know, Rebecca, you know, Lucy Liu just really sells, like, the grief. Like, I don't know, I find her, like, you know, shock and the screaming just to be you know, very sad and effective. And it's it's not like, you know, like a jump scare, like, oh my god, I'm scared or whatever, but it's almost like whatever the sad version of that would be. But you know,
it's effective as well, because it's like, not that she's not been acting all movie, because she has been, but her character all movie's been like, oh, we just have to wait for this to blow over. Oh, she's not, you know, it felt like this ending was her like finally breaking down and having like a reckoning of like the atmosphere and like the, like what she's had a part in like creating in terms of like the attitude that her son had and like how they've been treating the daughter. It's almost like the crime stuff and her like just kind of pretending that everything's okay. That's how she was also treating the family, is that everything's okay, like everything's running smoothly. Like anyone saying anything's wrong is just like making a fuss for, you know, reasons. But this was like her finally like it hitting her, like, no, this is the consequence of everything. It's like it all comes rushing to her when she sees her son's face in the reflection. So I thought it was a well done moment from a performance perspective.
And then again, what we know of the character, she says, like, this is literally the person she felt the most connected to in the world.
Yeah.
So then, you know, just to have that severed, it just like, you just really feel like the grief just coming out of her.
Yep. It just pours out. So, I mean, it's an effective final scene. Like I said, I probably would have liked a little bit more of, you know, it'd just be interesting, like, because I know this is important to the movie per se, but I'm curious, like, does Chloe know what Ryan was trying to do? Does she now know that he killed the friends? Has someone found, like, evidence of that?
I thought that, and you know, he could just be bullshitting or whatever, but I thought at one point when he's on top of her and, like, you know, doing those monologues and stuff, I thought he said something along the lines of, like, oh, you can hear me, but you can't, like, do anything, or
Oh,
like
did he?
I thought he said something like that. But,
Oh, maybe he did. Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I didn't think she was hearing what he was saying at that point. But I mean, if she is, then fair enough. But I thought she was just kind of unconscious.
I mean, that's definitely what it seems like. But I mean, again, it's kind of hard to say. But I thought he did allude to that, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing though. I was thinking about, like, I was like, okay, like maybe you can get away with this once, but like, I don't know. I feel like this is your third time. Like, are you sure you're like definitely not gonna get caught? Like, especially when it's like, the brother's still alive, and he'll be able to say like, oh, like there was someone else here this night or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know he's saying like, oh yeah, it'll look like an OD or whatever, but I feel like at some point people are gonna start putting some pieces together.
I mean, I think once you've got enough more, and who knows, maybe the two that have already happened do have the police looking into things, but like,
Yeah.
Clearly they've not found him yet. Yeah, maybe he was going to kill the brother as well afterwards, just to cover his
That
tracks.
could be
But
true.
then again, that'd be more suspicious because if both of them died, it's like, well, like something's definitely afoot then. So, yeah, I don't know, but I mean, he is a dumb teenager as well.
True. Yeah,
I'm not saying like he's making the smartest choices here as far as his serial killer career's going.
I feel like that's what happens a lot of times. Serial killers too. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like probably the more you kill or whatever, the cockier you get, and then you're liable to make more mistakes or whatever, or you feel invincible and you're just leaving more.
Because originally he was going to try and do it, in the middle of the movie, right after they had sex, when no one else was around. So no one,
Right,
even
yeah.
the brother wouldn't have known he was there. So like that would have been the more perfect crime, had the ghost not intervened. Which does suggest that the ghost was always going to intervene, because it sounds like it always ended with the window. So that first attempt never happened. Just a thought. So, yeah. No, it was an interesting little movie. Like, I had a good time. I got invested in the characters, and I was really rooting against the villain because he was awful. All right, Tim, you want to rate Presence?
Yeah, I forgot to mention it, but I also like the scene where, after the psychic lady like first visits, after she has a thing or whatever, the husband pulls the dad aside. And he's like, yeah, when she does these things, it really takes her out of her, and she might have to miss work for a few days, if you know what I mean. That's like, okay, yeah. He starts taking out his wallet, like, all right. Which is funny because like it kind of makes it seem like, oh, like is she like, some bullshitter just trying to scam him for money? But then like you said, she comes back later and seems generally concerned and stuff. So, just something that's interesting.
I wonder if she knows about this payment. I wonder if this is just the husband grifting.
That could be it too. Like, yeah, maybe she's doing it out of like the goodness of her heart, but she knows like she'll probably have to miss work any day, and then the husband kind of jumps in with that. So that could entirely be the case too. But yeah, just something that kind of made me laugh. As far as my ratings go, I think this is it's an experimental movie. I think it definitely succeeds in what it's setting out to do. I don't know if it necessarily goes above and beyond. Like, I don't know. I think it's like a pretty cool movie. Like, I'm not trying to damn it with faint praise or anything, but like, yeah, it probably maybe could have had a few more moments that were like a bit more like, oh wow, I guess. But as it is, so I think it is effective. It's a cool idea for a film. It's definitely not for everyone. I can see, there's probably a lot of people that are just gonna get bored by this like after 10-15 minutes or whatever. But I think if you let it play out, like it's easy to get sucked into the drama and everything that's going on, and it's fairly well paced and it's not super long, so it kind of keeps you going. I think I'll give it I'll go with maybe actually I'll go as high with as a 7.5 maybe. I'm trying to decide between like 7.5 because I think it's pretty good. Yeah, what the heck? I'll go as high as a 7.5. Maybe not like great or amazing, but I thought it was good for what it is, and it's cool, that they're trying something different. And again, it's definitely not like other stuff you'll see out there, and it's effective. So yeah, I thought pretty good.
Yeah, I think I actually go with a 7.5 as well. I think it's good. I think it's very effective, although maybe not for the reasons why I think it initially seems like it would be. Because I think I thought there was going to be a lot more about like sensing the presence and trying to communicate with it, and like the family, or at least the daughter, trying to actually figure out who the ghost is and get to know it and stuff. What it actually ends up more being about is this evil teenager Ryan and what he's trying to do, and the fact that the entity can stop it or try and intervene in some way. And the fact that ends up being like a manifestation of like all the guilt the brother had for how he treated her, and he needs to save her. Like that stuff is what works about it. But you can't really sell people on the movie for that because it's all complete spoilers. Like you have to go in just with the idea of you're following a movie from the perspective of a ghost. And on that front, it's not exactly what I guess I thought it would be. It still works really well for what it is, though. I just don't know if I'd quite go to great territory, which is where I'd be giving it like an 8 or so. So I'm going to say 7.5, which is to say good, or even very good.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned that because I can definitely see the other version of this movie, which maybe would be a bit more hacky or generic or something, where it's
the
like,
Ouija board comes out.
Ouija board, yes, yeah, and they're trying to communicate with it, or like the ghost is doing like all these like crazy things where, yeah, it's like, flipping CGI tables up into the air, or something like that. So it's you kind of gotta admire like what they're going for. Like they're not doing something like that, which probably honestly would have been more of a mainstream sell, and then you can see something like Blumhouse putting something like that in theaters or whatever. But yeah, I think as it works, it's like actually a pretty effective drama, which maybe is not what you expect, but helps it,
Yeah, maybe you could critique some inconsistencies, like, well, if it can knock a glass of orange just off a table, can it not knock it out of her hand later on when he's trying to drug her again? Is that not like a possibility? I mean, that's just nitpicky, though. Like, I'm just saying that because I know people might bring that up. I do think Ryan's a very effective villain, though, because once you've seen him try to do it once, every little thing he says after that, it just makes your skin crawl, because you know that he's biding his time and that he's going to do something awful.
Yeah.
So he's very easy to root against, so it's very effective in that sense. So, very good. That is Presence. So, next week on Screams After Midnight, the plan, kind of unfortunately, is Black Phone 2. So, we'll see you for that. And Tim's an idiot and already watched this in October, so he's going to have to watch it again.
Be an interesting discussion. Let's just say that.
Yeah, well, I'll be the judge of that. But yeah, that's what's coming next week on the show. Of course, you can support us over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and get access to the bonus episodes. We get one of those most months, and there's a whole back catalogue of like 60 plus episodes now, plus there's the Even More Scream segments we try and do a couple times a month. And the big year preview episode of Even More Streams went out in January. Although by the time this goes out, this may actually already be... Oh no, this is out on the 29th of January, so it's still January. It's not that out of date. So, thank you for joining us. Thanks to everyone who already supports us. It is greatly appreciated. But that is the show. So thank you once again. We'll see you next time. Keep watching scary movies. Goodbye.